Okay, hello everyone out there and Happy New Year. Oh my God, that's the first thing we have to say. And welcome to January, our first creative conversations of the new year. And let's hope it's a good year for everyone.
Okay.
I'm Andrea, I'm the program director of SCAN, and I think we have an excellent treat in store for you today. And let me just tell you a couple of little things before we even get started. We are recording today's segment of Creative Conversations, as we always do. And that video, I'll make that video available to everyone after the fact. You'll get an email and a link onto SCAN's YouTube channel. And obviously, we're having a live demo today. And so if you've got any questions whatsoever, look at the bottom of your screen. You should see a little button that says chat. And you should feel free to go into the chat screen at any time, type in your questions. And Domenica and I, my co-facilitator, we will be monitoring that. So we will make sure, we'll do our very best to get to everybody's questions, okay? So without further ado, here is Domenica.
Hello again. Happy New Year, everyone, and good evening. I'm very excited about our guest artist, Tracy Witter, and the art demonstration she will be presenting this evening. I was immediately drawn to her artwork, and in particular to her style and her being able to create art with various mediums. Tracy states that her goal is to paint something beautiful and inspiring every day. It is a constant work in progress. She attended the Art Institute of Philadelphia, where she earned a degree in graphic design, and had the honor of studying with such artists as Tony Ventura and Jane Lux. Under their guidance, she was able to create, define, and fine-tune her own style. Tracy's artwork has been displayed in various art shows and galleries that include the Guild of Creative Art, the Atlantic Highlands Arts Council, and Canvas Studio in Fairhaven. Let's welcome our guest, Tracy Witter. Hi, Tracy.
Hi,
Tracy,
thank you.
welcome.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Well, first of all, you know what? I'm just going to say, looking behind you, and I'm going to tell everybody, look, that's where we want to be. That's where we want to be right now.
Exactly, right here or any of those places.
You pick it, and I could be there. But since we can't be there, we're happy you're here.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate you thinking enough of my artwork to include me in your program. So I'm excited to do this today. Thank you again.
Right behind you is some of your artwork.
Yes, these are my some acrylic paintings that I've done in the past. I have a few hanging here. This was the Caribbean. We were away, and so I painted these. And my husband says I'm not allowed to sell them because he reminds us of our trip. And these were a couple things that I also did in classes. The peppers, that was a lesson I had taught. And so I have that hanging here. That's our boat and out in the Atlantic Highlands. So, I love working in acrylics. It's a fun medium. You can make mistakes and it's easier to cover up, which is kind of a fun, it's a sort of an easy out, which is good.
All right. So you know what, Donna and I we'll go behind the curtain for now. Okay. And so remember, everyone, all of our audience out there, hit the chat button. If you have a question, we'll do our best to get it answered. Meanwhile, you'll probably hear Donna and I chatting with Tracy anyway. So Donna, you and I are going to vanish. Tracy, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you. Thanks everyone out there for joining. This is pretty exciting. I've never done anything like this. I've done Zoom classes, but it's pretty fun to see and know that people are out there and they're interested in what's going on and how to paint. And it certainly got me through this pandemic. I'll tell you that, just painting so much and really throwing myself into something that I love to do. But today we're going to do a painting. It is winter, and I know this is all sunny behind me, but I chose this really pretty, I'm going to show you on my iPad. So I chose this really pretty birch tree winter scene. And I'm going to talk about how this is a real limited palette, actually. And I'm going to explain all my supplies and what I mean by limited palette. We have beautiful shadows that I'm going to create. and texture on the birch trees. And so we'll get started. I'm going to go over some of my supplies, and then we can, I'll show you step by step how I did this. So I have a small canvas here. I just did an 8x10, so I could try to get this done for the hour. And I have this is called my paper palette, and it comes in a pad like this. So it's disposable. So I cut pieces, and it's great. I could throw everything out. I don't have to worry about ruining anything because it doesn't come off plastic, your acrylic paints, because they get hard, as if you know that. And then I kind of save all my styrofoams or foil takeout containers, and I just use that as a base. I put my, and sometimes I'll paint right on this, depends how lazy I am. So I'll paint right on that, and then I just toss that right in the garbage. So that's my palette. This is my canvas, which, there is a lot to talk about. You could gesso this, and give it a little bit more thickness, which I did do on a prior painting that I painted today, so that we can move along quickly. We don't have to wait for anything to dry. So I'll show you that when we get to that point. I have my paint here. It's by Liquitex, is what I prefer. This is the basics. So it's a little more thinner. There's different bodies to their paints. The white that I'm using is a heavy body acrylic, and it gives the painting a more texture. So I chose that because the snow is going to be pretty thick in this painting. So a limited palette, like I referred to before. I'm only going to use a few colors. So I have my mostly white. I have this light blue, which is medium blue, which is cold. This is cerulean. So I'm using this for the sky, but mostly white. A little, what is this? Is yellow ochre. And that I kind of changed up from the picture. And that's what's so great about being an artist. You can use your artistic license and add. So I tried to do I'm going to try to do a little sunset, like wintry sky behind the tree line. And I also use, which when we get to the snow, I use this light modeling paste, which kind of builds up texture too. So Liquitex offers so many different mediums that you can use now. It's almost, it's like cheating, because there's so many great textures and mediums that you can use with your paints. And sometimes I use the slow drying medium. It helps to blend and makes, because acrylics dry so quickly, and as opposed to oils. And this kind of helps to blend and extend the blending time, which is also helpful when you're working in acrylics, because it's dry in the house, it's hot, heat's going. So they do tend to dry pretty quick, the acrylic paints. And then real quick, my brushes that I'm using, I tend to I don't like the short stiff ones for that a lot of acrylics and oil painters use. I like the flexibility of this is just a synthetic brush, and it's good to have a variety of size, because if you have a large canvas, you can't go in with a tiny little brush and expect to complete and get a nice wash or get a good rhythm going with your brush strokes. And then I have different other sizes here. This is an oval, a flat oval. I have a round, but we'll get to all these other ones if I use some of those. And I have a ton of brushes off to the side here, but we'll see what I need. I did start to make a little palette, color chart to see how the colors worked earlier. So like I said, I had cerulean, yellow ochre. There's a black and a gray, and this is what I was mixing to get the tree line. But why don't we get started? And I need my paper towel. I always have paper towel because it's like my security blanket. I like to hold on to it. So, all right. So we're going to start. I have my, I showed you the picture. Actually, I'm going to take this off my stand and put it here. And then you can kind of get a little better idea of what I'm doing. So I'm going to start. And the way I mix, I'm going to start with this light light blue in the background. And I'm going, like I said, I'm going to change it up slightly. So we're going to go, and I drew a little horizon line. So from top to the horizon line, I'm going to paint the sky. So I'm going to just wet my brush a little bit. And to mix a light blue, it's best to start with the white. All right. Always when you're mixing, I'm going to start with the white and add a little blue at a time, because you want to just, that blue is going to start to take over. And you don't want to, if you try to add white to the blue paint, you'd be mixing and mixing and mixing to try to get that tint of blue that you're looking for. So here I'm going to, you can see, good. So I'm going, adding a little more, and I'm over here making a separate puddle. I'm not mixing these two together. I'm making a separate puddle over here. We're going to try to get some paint going. And I did, like I talked about before, this blending medium. It's clear here and you could see it. Sometimes that waters down the paint too much, so I don't use it all the time. So, but maybe today, because of timing and the scenario, I might try to use it. So I'm going to go back and forth with my strokes from left to right, and kind of mix right on the page or on the canvas. And skies are great because you can just add, I can make it darker in the corner. So let's go for that. You know, why not? Oops. I've had a lot of blending medium. I'm just going to go get this sky going quickly. All right. Yeah, so this blending medium definitely helps to move that paint across your canvas. You can see how glossy it looks. It does kind of add a little shine, which is nice too, because the acrylic paints can dry pretty flat, or they do dry pretty flat and matte. All right. Let's get this moving. And my brush strokes are going in a direction, you know, maybe there's some wispy clouds or something going on in the sky. So we're going to, I'm going to put a little black out on my palette. I'm going to try to make it a little grayer. But black takes over. A lot of my students know I don't like to use a lot of black, but you know, to dull this down a little bit, maybe it's not such a bright day. I'm trying to make it a little more winter looking. Let's see. I need more paint. See, that's the other thing with acrylic also. And I know it, you know, you think you're wasting or using a lot of paint. You really want to cover the canvas. You don't really want to see those, the canvas threads through your paint. You know, you don't want it to look so bare like this. You really like, you know, the appealing part of canvas or oils is just seeing that thick, luminous paint. And if you look at a sky, it's always darker at the top, and then they get lighter as they go near the horizon line. So let's get this going. A little water. Okay.
Tracy,
Right.
can you hear me?
I can. Hello.
Hi. What size brush is that flat brush about?
What size is it? That's a good question. This is a half-inch oval wash.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to add, so here's the tricky part too, because blue and yellow makes green, if you don't know. So I'm trying to add a little atmosphere color into my sky, but I really don't want it to be a green sky. So that's where you have to kind of play around. I'm going to add some white to that mixture, but I want to just get a little color, like a little, like I said, little wintry action going here. All right. Okay, how's that look? Let me look on the screen. Not bad. All right, so down to the horizon line. All right. Okay, so now we've got our sky in the background. So everything's going to layer on top. And when you paint with acrylics, you work from the bottom up because it's very hard to paint around things, and you layer your colors, and you layer your the white is always the last thing at the top, on the top, like these birch trees, you know, all that's going to go on top. So in watercolor, it's the opposite. You'd want to save your whites and you leave your papers your white. So that, you know, that's how you layer your colors there. So it's the opposite approach. Okay, so now I got my sky and my horizon line. I'm going to go in, I'm going to add this tree line in the back, the hill in the background. Oh, wait, you can see my light. That's not good. And that is going to be a little bit of a pale blue, you know, kind of a lighter toned down color. You don't want it, the bluer the color, the further away it'll look. And you don't want it to be a bright green. First of all, you have to kind of think of what's going on in the weather, and what's going on is the sun is out, but this is farther away. So you want the color to be toned down a bit. So what I'm doing is I'm wiping off as much paint on my paper towels. I'm going to, clean my, my brush. And for my tree line, I could try to draw a little tree line for you. I'm just going to go, I'm not going to go too, it's kind of too, let's see. Just going to do it, some sort of a hilly action going on. And I'm going to use, where'd my black go? A little black. Let me turn this around. So a touch of the black, mostly white. Because again, this is going to be a tint. Okay. And I'm going to do a little French ultramarine blue. So just a little bit of a deeper blue. Stick that right there. Okay. So again, I'm going to start with the white. I'm going to pull from the puddle here and put it over here. And let's add a touch of the black, and we'll just do a very, a light gray. I'm mixing. And other times I've used, I'll show you. I can use a palette knife to kind of mix it separate and get that all that color really mixed together, as opposed to maybe streaky like this. But I don't mind that, seeing the color in the puddle there, in the puddle of paint. But this is good tool to have too, to mix. So let's see. I've got my. And then I'm going to add a little bit of blue. Let's try to get this color to be a little more pleasing to the eye. Let's see. All right. Okay. And this, I'm going to use a different brush. Let me get it all stuck under here. I'm going to use a round brush. I think this is the number, this is little. These aren't good. You know, these are, it's rubbed off. It's very little. It's probably a 4. So I'm not going to leave my brush in the water. I don't know if you know that. I don't like to leave my brushes in the water. It loosens the glue. And there's a lot of paint on this brush that I might want. So I'm just going to put that there for now. So I'm going to pick up this color, and I'm not really filling it in solid. I want to kind of give it some texture. So I'm sort of just dabbing along this tree line. And this paler color makes it look like it's in the distance, further away. And once we start building up the trees and all these twigs and stuff. So let's see, I'm going to add a little variety of color in here. Go across. And these will really be pretty hidden once we get the birch trees in the front. So I'm just kind of dabbing, you know, kind of doing little short, quick brush strokes. Let's get some other color.
Tracy, it's Andrea here with a
Yes.
question. Do you typically work from a photo?
I do always work from a photo. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Photos. To be honest, I did not take this photo, but I always work. Yeah. I always work from photos that I usually, you know, when I'm selling it, you know, if I'm going to be, you know, in my, you know, in a gallery or, you know, of course, you know, I don't take from other artists. I take my own photos and, yeah, so that's, but yeah,
So
always photo.
So when you're out and about, do you always have a camera prepared
Well,
to
of
take a
course I
photo?
have, yeah, I mean, of course I have my phone.
Your phone,
and,
right.
yeah, so I'm always, you know, that's the fun part about being an artist. I feel like I'm always, I don't realize that, but I think I'm always looking for something, the shadows or something cute to paint, or, so it is always on my mind. Like, what can I paint? You know, what can I, you know, what subject matter today? You know, I'll go to certain places so that I can find great, you know, images, like, especially in the spring, like, of course, Sickles Market or Calgo Garden or, you know, anything like that, to go get some great images.
And are you looking to duplicate your photo, or is that just your guide?
It's my guide. I think my style, you know, I guess sometimes it depends on my mood. I'm pretty realistic, I think, but it depends on what the subject is. If it's a close-up of a flower, I'm pretty, you know, realistic looking.
Okay.
But a lot of it's, I think maybe a more impressionistic type. You know, I'm not looking to make it look exactly like a photo. I don't really paint like that.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite subject matter?
I don't think I do, because I like painting. No, I like painting. It has to have the light and the mood to attract me. You know, it's got to have great shadows, but it could be landscape. It could be, you know, seascapes, piles of pottery. I mean, I've done a lot of things like that, or, you know, still lifes, flower, you know, all those kinds of things. All right, so here I have, you know, these trees in the distance. Okay, so those are just kind of nondescript. I mean, that's truly what it looks like in this picture too. They're sort of just nondescript, the script out in the background there. All right, so let's move on quickly to the, so I'm gonna take this brush off. I'm just gonna stick it in there. I'm gonna grab another piece of paper. Wipe my paint off here. And I'm going to move on to the snow now. Okay, let me just put this aside. It's here. So more white. And if you look at this picture, you know, everybody, when you look at snow, everyone thinks it's just white. But this has tons of, those blue shadows are amazing. So we're going to really play up those when it comes time. So let's see. So this is where I think I'm going to try and show you how to use some of this textured stuff. I'm hoping you can see it. It comes out looking like paint, but it dries clear. So I'm going to put a puddle here and I'm going to use it with the white to make the snow. I'm going to put more paint down.
What is that called?
This is it's called light modeling paste. All right, it's supposed to give you some structure. Oops, hold on. Let's get this picture back. All right. So again, I've got my wider brush here. I've cleaned it off. So now I'm just going to put down the first layers of the snow, this snow bank and back here behind the trees. Okay, so we're just going to start out, and I'm mixing these two kind of together, giving them some structure and some texture. And I'm going to go up this hill like this, the way it looks in this picture. And I'm not going to smooth out. I'm going to kind of just leave these bumps that you can see. Here, let me move that up. Okay, so let's see. So I'm adding, just trying to create that hill. All right. And I'm not watering this down. I'm just sort of glopping it on. Okay. And snow is so reflective, like water. I mean, it reflects the colors in of the sky and what's around it. So I am going to put out a little bit, probably had some on there. Hang on. I'm going to grab a little bit of this blue that I had. And I'm going to add just a little bit. Ooh, see? Just so you can, everyone can kind of see. Is that rare? I want you to have a good view. I don't want that ring to. So I'm adding just a little bit of this blue so you can kind of see through the camera where I'm going with this. Okay. And I'm going to be using that blue and the darker purpley, more purpley blue, like the French ultramarine, to give these great shadows once I get those trees in. All right, checking my time here. All right, can you see the texture? You can, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm kind of just going through, making that hill.
How does this texture differ from if you use gesso?
Gesso, in my experience, I only use gesso if I'm going to paint over a canvas or something. It's a little thin. Just, you know, it won't gop up like this. This is even light. They have so many different mediums that you can use now, you know, to create all kinds of textures in your painting, sandy texture, all different kinds of things. So gesso will not dry built up like this. I'm going to see if I can hold it.
It's beautiful.
See how that's kind of okay.
Yeah, you get the three-dimensionality.
Yeah, it's kind of gives it a little bit more of a realistic feel there. All right, so I'm going to wipe this off here. I'm going to go in with just white. Where's my white? Okay. And I'm going to try to just get some color of paint. You know, I know, like I said, with watercolor, you leave the white of the paper when you need to leave white, but this, you want to cover your canvas. So I'm going to go back here and I'm creating this pasture that's back here. Get a little wet.
Other than a canvas, I know you've painted on wood. Can you paint on metal with acrylic?
Yeah, you can. And yes, you can. Yeah, definitely. Acrylics are pretty, I feel like they're pretty, would universal be the word? Like they're pretty, not universal. You can use them in a lot of different scenarios for sure. Whereas watercolor, you can't, you know. So I like them a lot. And like I said, Liquitex just came out with all these great mediums, so they're kind of fun to play around with. All right.
They
So
keep us artists interested, don't they? These
they keep you buying.
Yeah.
They want you to keep buying.
Buying new stuff.
That's it. Okay. Let me get a little, where's that ultramarine? Oh. All right. So down here in this picture, you can see there's a little more shadow being caused by those birch trees. So I'm going to just put a base coat. All right. So I've got just that little bit. And I use the French ultramarine and a touch of the black from my other palette here to kind of get that first layer. All right, so I'm going to be honest. I should have done this first and then done the hill because the hill's in the front. So I should have done it that way, but it's fine. Okay, so I've got my whole canvas is covered right now. All right, so I have my pasture, I've got the hills in the back, the sky, and my hill, big hill in the front. So that's where we're going to pick up this painting here. All right. So there we go. So this is what I did earlier. I like the structure that I built up on that painting more than this, but we're going to go with this. So you can see, so we're going to continue now. I'm going to draw a few of these trees just because of timing. I'm just going to do a couple here. We're not going to do all of these trees. So I'm going to draw. That's another thing we could talk about a little bit. Transferring, if you don't always need to draw everything from scratch too. Like I like to get to the fun part, the painting. I love to draw, but sometimes, not everybody can draw or wants to draw or however that works. You could print your photo and then we've done this in class many times. There's also something called Sorel paper and it's a transfer paper. And then you can transfer anything right onto your canvas or paper.
How do you spell that, Sorel?
S-E-R-A-L.
Okay. And could you clarify why you changed canvases? It's because?
Well, because it's not drying yet. So if
Okay.
I was to start painting on this, I could have done it for, temporarily, but, I just didn't want it to all mush together. I want the white of my birch trees to be pretty white when we start now.
I just wanted to make sure everybody understands. Okay.
Yeah. This is the Sorel paper, S-A-R-A-L, my mistake. And it comes in a roll and it's just like transfer paper. All right. It comes in handy when you have a pretty intricate painting to do. All right. So now here are some birch trees. I'm just going to kind of just draw these trunks going up off the page. Nothing fancy. All right. I'm just going to do a couple here. Okay. Because I want to get to the shadows and stuff. All right, so I've got my hill here. This tree, we'll do one. I like odd numbers, except that will be right in the middle. So I'm going to do one over here. That's another thing, there's a lot to think about. There's always composition and design. All these things come into play when you're doing, there's, a lot to take into consideration. You don't want everything right in the middle of your paper or your canvas. So, and if you just want to kind of be pleasing to the eye. So this one, I'm just going to do this one here too. So because we're running I don't want to run out of time. I'm going to finish. All right. So there are my 3 trunks. And then we'll go in later. We'll do these little background things. Okay. So again, with the white, just so we can lay down some color on the trunks. All right. I don't need any blending solution right now or anything. I'm just filling in these trunks. All right. And the heavy body is nice because it's nice and thick and I'm really covering all of this background paint really nicely. All right. And I'm using the same brush. I probably should have done a little smaller. Depends what you're used to and what you feel comfortable with. Okay. So these don't look too exciting right now. They're kind of just look like no shape at all. So we're going to add a lot of shadow and shading on stuff on these. So let's get this going.
It's nice to see those vertical strokes against the horizontal and your pastel.
Yeah, that's a good point too. It is. It kind of breaks it up a little bit,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. All right. So let me just get this on here quick. And birch trees, as we know, have so much texture too. So it's kind of fun to just leave some glops of paint. Right, I'm gonna do this one quick over here. And then we'll get into those fun crevices and designs that we have.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat box.
Yeah.
Is there anyone willing to try a painting like this?
Does everyone watching paint? Yeah, I'm curious what everybody's interest level is and how far they've taken it. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to get my little bit of blue, French ultramarine blue. I'm going to use a little burnt umber brown for some of the shading. And then a little black. Where's my black? Oh. Okay. And I have a thinner brush here. We're going to start out with, we'll start out, oh, I know what I'm going to do. Now let's do this. We're going to do some shading. All right. So we have to determine where the sun's coming from. It's funny. It looks like it's all over the place. A little bit, but it's coming from the left. And I'm going to do these shadows on the tree on the right. And that's what's going to make these trees look round. So let's start this. Let's start with, again, with the white. I've got a little bit of this blue in here. I'm going to add a tiniest bit of brown to get a nice shade color. Let's start with this. And I'm going to go right up the edge here.
While you're doing that, Andrea, someone asked a question if they will see this video. Can you explain about Facebook or YouTube? Andrea? Okay.
Yes, yes. Okay, so somebody is asking, will we get a copy of the photo along with the video?
Yes, thank you.
Well, you'll certainly get a copy of the video, and if Tracy is willing to make a copy of the photo of her painting available.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay, then the answer is yes, you will get it.
And it will be on YouTube, Andrea?
It'll be on, yes, I'm sorry, what am I saying? It'll all be on YouTube, and I will send everyone who's here today, I will send you all the link, so you don't have to look for it. No worries about that. I'll have that done in the next day or two.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. All right, so I'm just trying to get some shading on this left side of these tree trunks. And then the fun part is always doing that detail, all that. I love all that extra detail with the fine brush. So I'm just kind of.
Tracy, someone just said, wonderful class.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I paid that person to say that. Oh, too much white. I've got too much color. It's always better to start lighter because you can just always add color. You know, you don't want to, don't want to overtake your painting, or so it's good to start light. You can always go darker. All right. All right, so let's get some shadow, real good shadow going here.
Okay, so I'm going to answer this one. I think someone's mentioning there's a curved shape obstructing the reference photo on the iPad. That's
you know what? That's my
the
light.
reflection of her light, Uma.
Yeah, I'll move it. That better? That's better.
Better. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. No, sorry about that. Okay. So I'm also, let's see, I'm gonna try and get a little bit deeper shading. These birch trees have those great markings all over them. So I'm gonna just start adding some of those by just going darker with my color. This second tree has these great crevices in here. Let's just do this.
It's coming to life.
Yeah. I feel like I'm on a race here and trying to finish. I want to get all the fun stuff done.
You will. What artists inspire you?
That's a good question. Well, like I said, I mean, I at one time was taking painting classes, one with Jane Lux years ago, and at the same time with Tony Ventura, and they were completely different styles. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with Tony. He was such a traditionalist, and he was president of the Salmagundi Club. I mean, he was in Manhattan. He was an incredible inspiration. Everything was so, you had to do tonal drawings before you started. You had to do all these shade, value. You wanted a value study, but it taught me so much. And then I'd go to Jane's class and she'd be like, all right, sling that paint. Let's go. Let's get it. So it was kind of a fun oxymoron of trying to be, but they both were inspiring. I learned so much from both of them, and they really were quite instrumental in me continue painting. I mean, they were amazing. But there's a current artist. She's based out of South Carolina. Her name is Mary White with a Y, and she does the most amazing portraits. And she just finished a show she did veterans and what they're doing today. Like, if they were policemen, or whatever they ended up doing, fishermen. And she went and did portraits, and it's hanging in, I was gonna say in the National Gallery, I think in Washington, but she has an amazing website, and I'm just so inspired by her detail and watercolor. And she's an amazing artist. She's a more current, phenomenal artist to love. All right, so there's a basic start to this, okay? I do want to get to all this detail. I mean, I would keep going, and give it even a little bit more. I'm going to try and just sort of start. I'm using more blue in this, trying to get a variety of color. These little crevices and curves and all these markings on these trees are, or give it its character here. Let's see. I'm just sort of, my brush is too big. Hold on.
One of the panelists just said, I made a statement, you make it look so easy. Emily and I would love to learn more. So if you know who Emily is.
All right, Emily, sounds good. I know you too can paint like this. It's like selling Ginsu knives or something.
Right.
All right. So I'm just adding some detail quickly here so we can.
And what I like is you're putting you into these brush strokes, not the reference photos brush strokes.
Right, I did. I'm really not looking at that too much right now. Mm-hmm. So, and here's the interesting, when you're looking at a birch tree, the lines up here should curve down because of the perspective. So that's something to keep in mind too. And then, your eye level, they're kind of all straight ahead, and then they sort of curve up down here at the bottom. All right, I'm getting too detailed on one. I want to get these kind of going here. Let's see. So this one here, this one doesn't have too many. So I'm going to go back to the small brush. Hold on. Yeah, because I want to get those great cloud or shadows on the That's good.
Okay, we have another statement. I'm into having learned watercolor from Tracy and loved every second. Now I'm excited to learn acrylics.
Oh, awesome.
So Tracy, do you find the acrylics more forgiving than the watercolor?
Absolutely. Well, I love watercolor too, but yes, of course. I can go back over this with white paint and and say, oh, gosh, I don't like that at all. Yeah, sure. It's definitely more forgiving, but it's watercolor is such a crisp, it's just a different type of painting, of course. All right, so and I could keep going here with this one. Let's see, that's good. We'll go over here.
Just got another thank you for the tip for lines on the birch trees.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming. All right. I have to tell you, and I was, it's kind of a funny story. When I was 12, my mom signed me up for art lessons with Muriel Rogers. If anybody knows Muriel Rogers, she's another somebody who influenced me. But when I was 12, I took these lessons in her basement, and then I stopped. I didn't take them. When I went off to high school, I took from other people. And years later, I was in Jane Lux's class, and I met Muriel's daughter, Maureen, and we became fantastic friends. And we ended up opening an art studio and gallery together. So here I was now friends with the first woman who taught me how to do my, oil. We did oil in her class. I was 12 years old. And then, I went on to teach in my basement. So like I said, Maureen and I opened up our own studio and gallery. So that was kind of a fun connection. Okay. So I've got, this one's a little blue, but that's all right. Okay. So I want to do the blue, the blue shadows really quickly here. Let me rinse this out. And you have to clean your brushes pretty thoroughly, because they will definitely get hard and wrecked from this. So, okay, so I'm going to move this and put out some blue. This is the French Ultra. And white again. All right. And let's try to get some of these shadows going. I start with the white, pull from that puddle, add a little. And let's get some of these shadows going here. So I'm gonna, oh, that could even be a little darker. Look how dark, look at the value. I mean, that value in there. So you can't be afraid sometimes. I'm gonna add a little bit of, I think a little bit of the brown to tone down. Oops. Yeah, there we go. That's a great color. All right, so let's try to get and I'm going to go up and down, try to create like there's hills and lumps in the snow. And these shadows, if you look at a shadow, they're always the darkest right next to the subject. And then they kind of, let's see, soften and fade out. That's good. Got my, all right, there's maybe shadows back there from something. This is a big, let's get a big shade shadow going here. And down here. Well, now it's funny because there aren't many trees in my in my drawing painting.
But I like the way you're going around the entire canvas and balancing.
Right, right. Trying to see where you need to put the shadow, of course. So let's see. I'm going to add white to this edge so it kind of is a little fuzzier.
So what do you think, everyone? Easy?
Yes. I know that looks like it's hiding back there. I'm gonna put this like this. I'll pretend there's other. I want to do some skinny little branchy things over here too. So let's get this. Does it read well in the picture?
Yes, it's looking good.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So you get the idea, but I wanted to show you how to do some background things going on back here. Okay. Let's see. All right, not bad, but now it does need a lot more attention with these little, where am I? Let's do. To make a nice, I don't like to use, I'm not going to use just a brown. I'm going to add a little blue to this. I'm going to use some of that blending medium so that it blends a little easier, drags across the, let's see how this works. And let's try to get some, I'm using the tip of this. I'm just gonna, oh, it's a little too thin. See, I said, remember? Let's see. Oh, I didn't finish that with Muriel. I was 12 years old and my first painting was Birch Trees.
Oh.
So I was doing Birch Trees since I'm 12.
A question here, is the sky and field still wet?
On the other one, it's tacky. Yes, it is. It is. All right. I'm just sort of adding some quick branches here, using the tip of my brush. Let's see. I mean, you could go on and on with all this kind of fun stuff, and then add snow in those crevices. But let me get, let's go down here quick so we can get some of these. Now these, I'm using this brush, probably have a better brush. Let's see. I'm not going to try to drag these all the way up. I'm just going to come down here and sort of create this thicket here. All right. I need a different brush. There we go.
We have a technical question for you, Tracy, that came in.
Mm-hmm.
Given you use so little water, do you think the tackiness will cause the paint to bleed if you had painted the birch over that?
It would not bleed like in a watercolor, but it would blend it. It wouldn't be as pure white as I would have liked it to be. So yeah, so it would definitely mush. It could mush together. You're not going to have that crispy white color that you want. So did that answer the question?
Yes, it answered for me, and I hope if not, only you can restate it or ask another question.
Okay. So this I could go on and on. I'm using the tip of this brush. I'm just trying to create these little.
Now that's a shorter flat brush.
This is a real short flat brush. That's the first one I could see here. Let's see. Yeah, this is a this says it's an 8. Sometimes they're, you know, an 8 can be fatter, thinner, so it's kind of funny. All right, let's see. Yeah, let's
Just
go
to
back.
let you know where you are with time, so you might want to know. It's 4:56.
Okay, I'm just
I know
sort of,
you can continue, but I just want everyone to know, I'm sure you're working faster than normal on your-
yes.
and it's still beautiful.
Trying to demonstrate, right? So we can get the feel for it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
these I could go on and on.
I'm really enjoying this CB. I have no experience with acrylics. So
All right. Well, thank you. Maybe you can, does this person, do they paint it all?
yes, what a wonderful watercolorist, and she's an illustrator.
Wow.
She's wonderful.
Well, great.
Yes,
Well, now you have to try acrylics.
she will do well with it.
Hmm. Well, Donna's a wonderful talent too, right? You certainly are. Okay. So we get the picture here, right?
It's a picture of the picture.
Just sort of,
Tracy, it's Andrea. I'm always wondering, how do you know when you're done?
yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Well, this is pretty self-explanatory, I
Yes,
think. You know,
but
you can only go. But how do you know when you're done? I think it's just kind of a feeling. You just sort of like, all right, I've done it. This has gone as far as I can get it to go. You know, when you've answered all the questions on your canvas, and you just like, okay, I've created, you know, the scene or the image I wanted to. You know, it's just
Mhm.
you kind of know. You sort of know. I mean, then you could keep going and overwork something. I've done that 1,000 times.
Yes, yes.
So here I'm adding just a little bit of extra detail here. You could see I'm adding some
Little snow.
snow. Yeah. Now I was going to use, I could do it anyway. I could show you a little, it doesn't really look like a snow scene here, but I mean, like that it's actively snowing. Here, I want to add, but I'm going to show you a little trick with the toothbrush. Here, I want to get a little deeper contrast here.
Tracy, there's a question. Do you use the same brushes as watercolor?
That's a great question, actually. Somebody else just asked me that this week too. You can, I do keep mine separate. I have watercolor brushes that some are a little bit better that I like. And, but I do use, like I said, the synthetic even for the acrylic. It's, and I don't like them stiff, but you can, they're water based, so you don't want to use an oil paint brush and then try to do your pretty watercolors with that. That is not good.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so here's just a few more of these. These are supposed to be like behind the ridge here. I'm going to make this a little darker down here.
Someone's asking, are the acrylics comparable in price to watercolors?
They're this size, this is 4 ounces, a nice size tube. You can get this for $5. So these are a little bit less, these are more affordable. I buy Winsor Newton professional watercolor paints, and depending on the pigment and the color, you know, you could spend $15 on one little tube. I mean, they do last a long time, and you get, you know, and you do get what you pay for with any kind of a supply. So, you know, you can get good results with these acrylic Liquitex basics, and they are very affordable, in my opinion. And the pigment's good, you know, they're good, but not too expensive. Okay, so you get this idea of that. And let me just show you a quick little, all right, I'm gonna do that. Let me show you, I'm gonna use this white. Let's see. Where's my toothbrush? All right, so I'm just gonna do a couple of my students, if there any of them are, and they've seen us do, we've done this. So I'm gonna wet my brush, and I'm going to kind of get a little liquidy. Uh-oh, what happened?
Technology.
No, my husband's bringing in. I told him I was doing. So, let's see. Let me move my iPad. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't want it on that.
Yeah. So I'm going to put a little, just a little splatter of paint like this. So it looks like little snow.
Can you turn to the side so we can see your thumb
Yeah.
action? The thumb act, no,
Yeah.
your brush, yeah. See
So
that,
it's sort
guys?
of, I'm like this. I'm
You're just
dragging
kind
it
of
across.
spritzing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
With a watered down acrylic. And that's it.
And now it's snowing.
That is
And now-
phenomenal.
Just started to snow there.
In 1 hour's time, you're amazing.
Thanks. That was fun.
We have 2 more chat questions real quick. Are they?
Sure,
So just
sure.
saying what talent you are. You're amazing. It's amazing to watch the process.
Aw,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you. I hope you liked it.
I loved it. We'll go back on, Andrea. Are we
Yep.
on?
Let's
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tracy, I think you're amazing. And I know
Thank you.
Andrea is going to share some of information if they wanted to get in contact with
And
you.
it was fun to watch.
Oh, good. I hope
Yeah.
so. I hope so. I
Like a
enjoyed
look
it.
behind the scenes.
Right, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
See how it's done. So I'm
Yeah.
happy you liked it. I am. Thanks for asking me. Thanks, Dominica. That was awesome. That was great.
So glad we met. That was
Yeah.
Everyone, I hope you enjoyed watching Tracy paint from scratch. That was really like a treat. And
Thank
I've been recording this. I've been working behind the scenes. Everything's being recorded.
Great.
And as soon as I have it edited in the next day or so, you'll get a link to the YouTube link and you can watch it. You can look at it again to your heart's content. You can share it. And Tracy said you would kindly share
Yes. I'll
an
take a
image of the
picture.
photo, and I will share that with everyone as well. So
Wonderful.
really, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I loved it. And thanks everyone for attending. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
We
So
have
Donna, do you want to give us some coming attractions? 'Cause we've
Absolutely.
got-
Next
and
month. for
I
our
just, before you even do that, let me just tell our listeners that to her credit, Donna has done an awesome job of booking really excellent people for us to enjoy.
Thank you,
So,
Andrea.
You really have.
Thank you. February artist of the month. He is an artist. He's in theater arts, and we love stretching that word arts a bit. But he is the event coordinator, or I think he has a better title than that, for the Month of Arts right here in Red Bank. And he'll be speaking on artists and artist involvement in the community and how to support artists also. March, we have Tara Collins, who will be showing us some really nice tricks with art journaling. And in April, Donna Steinhorn will be talking about, she's a life coach, and she'll be talking about art and well-being. And we all know what art means to us. and
Yeah, we need
how
more of
important it
that.
is in our lives. Yes.
Those sound great.
Thank you all. I think this was great. I hope you enjoyed it. Email
Thank you for coming.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
And
you.
once again, I want to wish you all Happy New Year. And we'll see you next month for Creative Conversations. Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
so much. Take care. Bye-bye.